Well, good evening, First Baptist Stonington and Old Stonington Baptist Church, and greetings from the park's backyard. I wanted to take a few minutes tonight to begin the first part of 3 of these YouTube videos that I want to share with you as we prepare for our return to church. And there's 3 things I want us to focus on as we get our hearts and minds ready for the upcoming return to church, when our 2 church leaderships decide on what date that will be very soon. But what date that will actually be, there are 3 things I want us to be mindful of. And the first one is to be praying. The second one is to be prepared. And the third one is to be present. Well, tonight I want us to look just for a minute at the subject of prayer. I read this week that on the continent of Africa, when Christianity was beginning to really take a hold of the continent of Africa, and early African Christians were very devout and very dedicated in their faith. And what they would do is each man had a certain spot in the thicket where he would go to pray every day. So over time, the path to these spots in the thicket would become worn down from the men walking on it every day, and it would become just a dirt path to that person's spot. If any of the men were negligent in their daily prayer and in their daily quiet and private time with the Lord, the other men would just simply go to that person and say, "Brother, there's grass growing on your path." And that's a great reminder for us, is that we should be in the business every day of praying. And as we approach this time of returning to church here in the coming weeks, we need to be praying about so many things. We need to pray for the timing of our return. We need to pray for those who will be returning to church and putting themselves in larger crowds of people than they've been in during any of this time. You may not realize this, but we have been at this for 84 days. We started this, our first Sunday of shelter in place live stream services was March 22nd. That was 84 days ago. And so we need to be praying for those that have stayed home and stayed isolated, but are ready to return to church and are putting themselves back into a crowd of people larger than they may have ever been in this 84 days that we have been sheltering in place. So we need to pray for those that are returning. We need to pray for those that need a little more time to think about it. And that is absolutely okay. If the day that we set aside for our return to church comes and you're not ready, you don't come. If you're not physically able to come, then I urge you to continue to stay at home and catch one of our live stream services that we will have each and every time that we meet. There will be an opportunity for you to see the live stream on Facebook or catch the recorded version either on YouTube or the church websites. We need to pray for the decisions of our church leadership as we go out and secure all the necessary protective items that we need, masks and hand sanitizer, and all the things that we'll be doing, the changes that we have to make to our worship in order for us to be able to worship safely as we have multiple people in our churches. I was reading tonight in Genesis chapter 29, beginning with verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you. This is the Lord's declaration. Plans for a well-being and not for harm, to give you a future and a hope. You will call to me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with your whole heart. I will be found by you. This is the Lord's declaration. And I will restore your fortunes and gather you from all the nations and places where I banished you. This is the Lord's declaration. I will restore you to the place from which I departed you." And it's the end of that verse that's really meaningful for us. The Lord is saying, I will restore you to the place from which I departed you. By God's providence and by His choice and by His plan, He removed us from the weekly assembling of ourselves in our churches. But His Word reminds us in Jeremiah chapter 29 that He will restore us to the place from which He departed us. So in the coming days, we will cover 3 things. Tonight we're looking at the importance that we be praying. Tomorrow night we're going to look at being prepared, and then Wednesday night we're going to look at being present. And these are all 3 very vital and very important things. I covet your prayers as we prepare to return to church. I pray that you begin to prepare your family, and that you begin to prepare for, it's our dog, she loves sticks. And prepare your hearts, prepare your minds, prepare your family to return, so that when the day comes, we're ready, we're prayed up, we're ready to go, we're prepared, but most of all, we're present, either in person or continuing to worship by live stream or some other form of technology. But thank you for taking a few minutes tonight to hear what I have to say. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow night as we talk about being prepared. Have a good night.